What's up, guys? iRide705 here. I'm going to do something a little different today. I'm in the process of sanding and polishing my car. Yes, sanding with sandpaper. I'm actually, this is the new project car. I'm sure you guys have seen a little bit. Hood's wet right now because I started without you guys. I'm going to show you what I did before I started. But this is a 2001 Porsche Boxster S. I've done a little bit of work to it. I smoked the taillights. Replaced the writing for this black writing with the red S. I already wet sanded and buffed the trunk in these two sections here, the two fenders. I did not do this section here. I didn't do the doors yet, and I haven't done the front. I took the emblem off the car, and I'm just gonna start doing the hood a little bit. I have this little tape here because there's actually a dent in my hood. Somebody closed something from the inside that was in the inside of the trunk, closed it down and dented the hood. So I'm going to skip that section there because it's raised and I don't want to mess it up, because if I start sanding over that and it's a little raised section, it'll sand right through the paint. So I'm going to leave that the way it is till the spring, and I'm going to have, there's a place nearby called the Dent Doctor or whatever. Anyways, they take dents out somehow, some way, and I'm going to leave that up to them. So let's, I'm going to start off and run you through with the first thing I did. First thing you want to do is wash this thing. Soap and water, clean off what you can. The second thing you want to do, here's my little potions. Oh, I already have it on the car. This is called a clay bar. I don't have a. It's a product by Meguiar's is what I'm using. Is this ugly piece of, basically looks like Play-Doh. You mush it out to something like a pad this size, and you use the product that comes with it is actually a quick detailer. Spray it on there. And what this does is you just put it on your car and you slide it back and forth gently. You don't have to press or anything. You just slide it nice and easy. And it gets rid of all the little crumbs of dirt on there. So anything that's sort of embedded in your paint, it kind of helps smooth it out. It actually sort of does sand it to a certain extent, but not enough that you can see. So basically you want to do that. I already did it on the hood and on the fenders, but basically you want to run it across there. Keep it wet, use that detailer to keep it wet. And it's gonna pick up all the little debris and crumbs on there. The reason why you wanna do that, because we are sanding this with really fine sandpaper. I'm actually starting off with 3000 grit sandpaper. Normally people, if you look at videos, they'll use 2000 grit. And what they're trying to do is get rid of the orange peel. The orange peel is sort of that little wobbleness from the paint from the factory. This car here has orange peel, but very little. Compared to my brand new Dodge, it hardly has any at all. So they do a much better job, I guess, from the factory than a normal car. One thing that's another thing I should probably note before I go too far and forget to mention this. This Porsche Boxster has base, which means they painted the car black and then they cleared over it. So it's like a two-part. They'll like I said, they'll paint it, prime over it. Some cars, I'm assuming my shitty Dodge out there, is one part paint. So it's paint with a gloss in it, sort of like what you get out of a spray can. That there is fine. It's still buffable and polishable, but you have to be a little bit more careful with it because it's probably a little bit thinner than this here. So what I'm doing now is I'm just taking off the slime from the quick detailer, because it's sort of like a wax itself. Using a clean terry cloth that has never been used for anything else. It's not an old rag that I have kicking around the shop. What I really want to make sure that I accomplish here is to not have any crumbs in there, so the sandpaper doesn't pick up those crumbs and sand the shit out of my car, like put big swirls and scratches in it. So that's as clean as it can be within reason. So anyways, like I said, this is two-part paint. What we're gonna sand here is gonna come off white. If you have one part paint and you're doing a black car, as you're sanding, the stuff that will come off would be black. So that's not gonna be the case here. If we start hitting some black, we went too far, but we're not going to. I'm using a DA sander. I know it sounds crazy. This is the stuff I'm using right here. This is called Trizac. I don't know who makes it. It's a 3M product called Trizac, and this is 3000 grit. And then we're following up with 5000 grit to clean up the scratches from the 3000 grit. So it's kind of like That's basically what you're doing. You're sanding down the surface. You get into a finer sandpaper to sand out those lines, and then you're using grit, polishing compound, which also has some grit in it, to smooth out the scratches from the 5000 grit. So it's a step process. And after that, you do a machine polish to get rid of those scratches, which is microscopic. You can't even see them by eye, but do them anyways. So that's the stuff here. This is Trizact 5000 grit by 3M. I'm using a DA sander. Now these pads here, I'm going to make sure I don't lay them down on anything that's going to get them all dirty, of course. They have to be clean as well. I'm using a DA sander. This is an air tool. It rotates and orbits at the same time. And also this is an intermittent pad, so it's a foam pad to kind of soak up any little bumps in the hood so it doesn't dig in. The Trizact pads are also foam, so they have a little bit of cushion to them too. So on very flat panels, you can get away with just using the Trizact, but you know what, you might as well get that intermittent pad. That way there, if you hit something or there's a bump, it's that much less likely you're gonna burn through your paint. I'm gonna shut off the camera. I'm gonna get this all started. I'm gonna get everything hooked up, the air hooked up, and then I'm gonna come back and show you guys a few pointers of how to do this and not how to do this, or how not to do this, and yeah, see you in a few seconds. All right, so we have our pad here. It is dry right now. Haven't done anything. I blew it off with the air gun just to try to get rid of any debris or dirt that could have got its way to it. This is water, plain water in a squirt bottle, which I haven't used yet, so it's not working. Let's get that primed a bit. We are going to wet this sandpaper. You can actually soak the sandpaper in water for a while if you want. Some people do that. But I don't. Talk like I do this all the time, but. So you're going to wet the shit out of that. And then I'm going to see if I can. I don't have a bipod or a tripod or anything, so I'm going to set this up on one of my benches so you can kind of see what I'm doing here. All right, hopefully that gives you a good view. So what we're going to do is we're going to wet this surface and sand it. Now, there's an issue with this, and the issue is if you get to an edge and it touches that edge, it can burn the edge off. So that's bad. You definitely, like any kind of round corner like this, when you're sanding it, you're going to be rolling off this edge and then contacting this edge, and there's going to be a lot more pressure on the edge than on the panel, and you will burn through your paint. You will fuck it up, and you're going to regret it. So, what you need to do, let's see if I can lay this down without having it go off here. What you need to do is tape off these edges. And I'm going to show you how we do that. Now normally, you would use automotive tape. Like this stuff right here. I'm going to try something a little different on this panel because I found that with this tape here, the sort of sticky stuff on the underneath kind of gets out and it gets onto your paint a little bit. So I'm going to try electrical tape, but any tape that stays on there is going to work fine. And we're going to tape that seam pretty close to the edge. I mean, you don't have to be far away from the edge, as long as you're beyond the part where it starts to radius in. So I'm going to go about 1/8 of an inch onto the paint, beyond the radius, I should say. I think that's gonna be alright. It's gonna be alright. Now the edge, where we're not doing because we have tape over it, is not gonna be pretty like the rest. It's gonna be all scratched up and dull. But what we're gonna do after this is we are gonna go and, by hand, take the rubbing compound and polish off that last little bit that you can't get to. And that's really not a big deal. It comes off pretty easy. Alright, let's get down to business here. All right, I hope you guys can see this okay. I'm gonna do this section here so you can actually see what I'm doing. And wet this up, wet the surface really well. You don't wanna put too much water because what will happen is the sandpaper will actually hydroplane on the water. And yeah, so 3000 grit sandpaper on there and away we go, we're gonna sand. So just to show you kind of what that accomplishes, before I go too far, I always keep a rag with or cloth with me so I can wipe it. And you can see how dull instantly that gets. And basically just sanding down all the scratches. These scratches are almost impossible to get out just by buffing. You can always, I mean, buffing is like sanding, but it'll take forever to get out. So I don't know if you can really see that, but they've got a big long scratch here. I got tons of them. Like this car is full of them. Now that I put these 6000K lights on them, you can see all of them, and it's brutal. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna sand it all down like this here. That was a real quick sand. I can actually see like a little paint blurb there. And it's not gonna be 100%, but it's gonna be way, way, way better. And in daylight, it'll look amazing. So again, there's like a little scratch right there. All those, I'm gonna make sure that they're gone when I'm wet sanding. Once I'm done all that, this is 3000 grit. I'm gonna go in with 5000 grit and sand this out. And that'll take those little ridges created by this 3000 grit down. And then we're gonna go ahead and buff this all out. Another little pointer, this here, you don't wanna rub that all over your paint. Probably can't see that, but you grab this hose and just throw it over your shoulder, and that'll help eliminate that. Forgot to mention that. Once in a while, you're gonna stop, give this a wipe down, and what you're looking for is your scratches to see if they're still there or not. It may sound like it's crazy and I'm sanding a lot, but there's actually not a lot of material coming off whatsoever. This is actually better than just trying to buff it out with the buffer. And that's because the pad, this here evens out all the pressure. When you're on the buffer and you're kind of rolling up on the edge trying to buff it, it makes it a lot worse. Or if you decide to hand sand it, that's the worst thing you can do, because your fingers are actually pushing and making grooves in your paint. So this, the DA pad and the foam pad in between, is the safest way of doing it. And I know that because I watched 10,000 YouTube videos, and that's the information I got from them. And it makes a lot of sense because I've been doing it. Super important to have good lighting in here when you're doing this. You can grab yourself a flashlight or an LED bar and kind of roll it over the edge if you want. I still have like little dots everywhere. Fine scratches, just scratch right across here, and it's actually still pretty shiny right here, so I didn't really hit that section too much. So I'm just gonna take my time and do the entire hood like this. And I'm just gonna wipe it as I go, take my time and inspect it and see where I need to sand some more. And the idea here is not to get it, you know, perfect, but pretty freaking close. So I'm gonna turn off the camera so I don't kill the batteries, and I'll turn it back on when the whole hood's sanded and we go down to 5,000. All right guys, I've gone through it with 3000 grit sandpaper. It's okay-ish. I mean, I can still see some fine scratches. And those scratches will carry through when I buff it. I mean, there's no doubt about it. It's not gonna be 100%. If I could see something in it now, the next process and the next process might knock it down a little bit, but it's still gonna be there. But I'm okay with that. I'm not looking for, you know, perfection, I guess you could say. No, it sounds bad to say that, but I'm looking for it to look good. So now I'm gonna go and get rid of my 3000 grit sandpaper, move on to my 5000 grit, and I'm gonna make sure I really flush that very well with water before I start. So you're definitely gonna wanna soak this really well. Grab the air gun, blow it out, which I'm gonna do that right now. You just wanna make sure that there's no crumbs or debris on there. This process has to be super clean to the best of your abilities. My sandpaper right now, my 3000 grit, is shot, I can tell you that much. It took me forever to sand that panel, and I'm still not 100% happy with it. Sorry, I just noticed another spot and hit this up. Noticed a few spots. It's not cutting like it used to, that's for sure. But I'm gonna do all this and try it out and see what it looks like. I'm gonna put our new pad on there. Try to make that as center as possible. It's nice when it's centered, because when you get close to an edge, it doesn't sort of wobble on and off the edge. You can actually keep it really kind of more of a precise motion. I mean, it's still a bit of a wobble there, but we'll So, all right, so again, wet the shit out of this, wet the car lightly, and we're gonna go and go over our 3000 grit with 5000 grit. And this will actually make it shine a little bit more. It's not gonna be as dull when we're done with this here. Go over nice and slow. You don't have to worry about heat with the sandpaper, just take your time with it. It's not going to get hot. It's not like the buffing pad where you're buffing with compound and it's dry and you're kind of rotating very quick. This is a different process. So on that note, I'll see you guys in about 6-7 minutes, and then we will wipe this all down and start buffing it, and we'll show you the finished product, hopefully. All right, so I just finished sanding it down with the 5000 grit. I think I nailed it pretty good to where I need to. So I'm gonna grab my cloth now again and just wipe this all down. Take a look at where I'm at. My 3000 grit, I'm going to change it because I really think it's dull. It almost seemed like the 5000 grit was cutting more. And the reason I know it's cutting more is because more white stuff's coming off it, the clear coat, than my 3000. My 3000's done a little bit of work now, and I think it's pretty shot. So I'm just going to wipe down the car as much as I can everywhere. Do the side that we haven't done yet while we're at it. Just going to clean it up. So there we go. Let's see if you guys can see that. See how dull that is? And then shiny there where we haven't done it. Again, dull and shiny, but shiny and full of scratches. I don't really know if you guys can see the scratches in there. Kind of hard to tell. Maybe in this fender here it shows up a little bit better. Lots of little scratches in there. There's one right there, a whole bunch. Looks like somebody took a snow brush to it almost. So now, next step, we are going to buff the car with a buffer. And I use a rotary buffer, not an orbital. That is an orbital tool. Not a big fan of that for buffing. And this is what we're going to use. It's a wool pad. Kind of has this weird cup shape. It's I wouldn't say it's soft. It's kind of like almost like a hard plasticky stuff with some fur on it, but it's flexible, so you can actually bend it a little bit. And this is the sander that we're going to use. This is nothing special. Ah, shit balls. I didn't need to dirty this stuff. Really, really hard to keep all this clean. Even though I try. This here, I've used it a few times. I know I've seen a lot of people use like a screwdriver to kind of whack it. I don't know about that. So far so good. I'm gonna go and hit this with the air. Again, trying to get whatever I can if there's any like little rocks or debris in there. I've been as careful as possible when I've been doing this, but not to say that's perfect. Damn! I almost made it nice and fluffy again. Like sheep's ass. Alright, I'm gonna put the camera down and I'm gonna get my my buffer all set up. You can watch me if you'd like. This is a foam pad. I use this for machine finishing. Right now it's all black because I was doing the taillights and I smoked the taillights on this car, so as then I tinted them. That's my intermittent pad for my buffer. It does not get used with this pad here. So again, we're going to try to center that as best we can so it's not too wobbly. There we go. That's on there. Never sit it down with the surface down, obviously, because that's just dumb. Face it up like that. I'm going to go get my extension cord and I'll meet you back at the car. See you in a second. Alright guys, place the camera here. Hopefully you can see this. This is the stuff I've been using and this is my favorite stuff. I have 1,000 different brands of this and different kinds. I have the 3M 3-step process one where it's like, I don't know, different colors and different bottles. And this stuff by far has been the best. And I'm going to continue using it. It's Ultimate Compound by Meguiar's. And you pretty much don't even need the machine polish after this. After this, it's pretty awesome. I just do it just because, I mean, It's better than my eye can see, but I still want it to be as good as I can. So it takes hardly no effort to put the machine one on. I did tape off this edge. I have all the edges taped off, especially with the rotary buffer, because that's where I'm going to create some heat, and I'm going to have to be a little bit careful with it. This stuff here, I shook it. I'm trying to make sure there's no crunches that come out of it when I apply it on there. Don't need a whole lot of it. That was probably a lot more than I needed. Your rotary is going to have a dial on it, basically different speeds. I got about 3.5. I think it goes up to 6 or something like that. You want this to be spinning, but not spinning so fast that you're creating a lot of heat. So, what we can do now is prime the pad. So you're going to want to get some compound in here, not all over your face. And you want to actually mush that in there. I'm not going to use my hands because my hands might have some dirt in them, so I'm using this clean shop towel. And you're just going to try to squish that into the pad, especially if it's the pad for the first time. You definitely want to sort of pre-soak it, if you want to call that. All right. Now we have some also on the car, which I'm just going to, before I start, just smear it around a little bit. All right, I'm going to start off with a few pointers. If I get to an edge here, what you don't want to do on an edge, even though I have it taped off, is have your buffer tilted this way so you're rolling on that edge. That makes it really hard and you can burn that edge. Like I said, I do have it taped off, but sometimes you won't be able to tape off everything. So what you want to do is always go off the surface, which is what I'm going to do. So that's more like a positioning like this. And I'm going to be conscientious when I do this that I don't roll on the edge, just in case I burn through my tape or whatever the case may be. A lot of professionals won't even use tape, and they're very careful they don't roll off the edge. Now with this, we're gonna move, but we don't have to move like 4,000 miles an hour. We don't have to worry about that. We're just gonna keep a constant motion and work that compound in there till it shines. So here we go. Start the buffer. Don't start in the air like this here until full speed because you're gonna get buffing compound all over the place. So you can start spinning it and just sit it on the car and then carry on. Another thing you don't want to do is stop it when it's on the car. You should kind of roll off and let go of the trigger. It should always be in motion while it's when it's on the car. Whatever. You know what I mean. Anyways, cord goes around the neck so you don't scratch anything. And away we go. Like I said, we don't need to move real fast. But what we don't want to do is stop, and we just want to work that in. Does it hurt if you move real fast? Can you do this? Yeah, you can. It's not going to hurt, but it just makes it really hard to control how much you're buffing in one area. So you do definitely want to have that proper coverage. So like I said, I'm rolling off the edge now, all along that edge, and I'm just basically working that edge, and I'm working back and forth. I'm doing about a 50% overlap, and I am riding the edge with buffer. I'm not sitting completely flat right now. Not by a lot, but just a little bit, like a 5-degree tilt. So I'm kind of, like I said, just not flat on it, but I'm rolling on the edge a little bit. We're basically just letting the compound do the work. I'm not really putting much pressure whatsoever other than the weight of my hands. Hope you guys can hear me. I know it's kind of loud. Go at it again. Really hard to tell how well you're doing until you wipe it, but I don't run it till it goes to the point where you run out of compound and it goes clean. There's always compound on when I'm doing this. If you don't have enough compound on it, you can basically do this till the compound washes right off, but that's really not what you want. You want that compound to be there all the time. Alright, so we've done that for a few, well, not a few minutes, a few seconds. I am gonna go get a brand new shop towel. I do not want to use the one that I was just using because it has sandpaper grit in it, technically. So I'm gonna go into my batch of brand new shop towels, and let's see where we're at here with this. So you can see there's still a lot of compound on it, and what we're looking for now is to get rid of all the sanding marks. Yeah, not bad. That came out pretty easy. So how you're gonna know if there's sanding marks is there's gonna be like a bit of a haze. Like right here, you can see a bunch of haze. So this is close, but it's not perfect. Definitely gonna check it around our edges here. Now this stuff here, don't be afraid to, like if there's some spots that have this material, put a bit of pressure and rub it. Basically you're gonna be buffing while you're doing that. And that's how you're gonna end up doing your edges that you can't reach with the buffer, is by hand anyways. So when you're doing this, no circles, straight lines when you're buffing. Why? I have no idea, it's just the way it is. Just the way it's done. All right. Same thing with the clay bar. It's not a wax on, wax off little circle thing. No Mr. Miyagi there. For these guys who know that is. All right. So definitely still have some haze. You guys probably can't see that in the camera, but I can. I can actually see my little sanding, little swirl marks a little bit here. So we're gonna hit this up again and go over it, but I could see most of the scratches are gone. Just a little bit more pitting. It is 10 times better than the other side already. So we're gonna carry on with that. I wish you guys could see this in person because it's gonna be pretty hard to pick up on the camera. But I will be able to show you the difference between this fender and this. I'm sure you'll be able to tell. Let's do this again. See how we're doing here. Oh yeah, nice and shiny. I like it. Dull right here. To be expected. It's close to my tape. And I don't usually sand too much when I'm close to my tape. Back to the rest. Paying attention when I'm wiping with this cloth that I'm not introducing any scratches. But so far so good, it looks good. I've been trying to keep everything as clean as possible, which makes a huge difference. All right, I don't know if you guys can see that. Looking good. Right here, see it's dull? So I'm gonna hit that up again. Here's a little bit dull, it's not that bad. It's more of a smudge from the compound. I don't know if you guys can tell already. All right, let's see here. Go nice and slow. See the scratches right across this whole. When we get here, there's no scratches. No scratches. No scratches. I have a very, very fine scratch right across here, barely visible. With this one here, I have more like little pits everywhere, which is okay. I can live with that. But all the thousands of scratches are out of them. All right, I'll go finish off my few spots. All right, we're gonna call that good enough. Now the last process we're gonna do is the machine polish. And this right now by eye looks perfect. It's not gonna look any better than this when we're done. But the machine polish is basically gonna polish all the scratches that we just put in. And even though we can't really see them by eye, they're there. So we're gonna get it as best we can before we call it quits on this side of the hood here. For that one, I'm gonna get rid of my tape because the machine polish is gonna be used with a soft sponge for buffing. And I'm not too worried about burning my paint. I'm still gonna make sure I blend off the paint, but not worried about it. So I'm gonna wipe this off here. And now I can see it's nicely buffed and then it's dull here. I don't know if you guys can see that. A little bit of dullness right there. So what we're gonna do with that is we're just gonna grab our, back here, we're gonna grab our clean rag that we just used a second ago, put a little compound on it, a big blob, put it into our cloth just a little bit, and then we're lightly gonna wipe that edge and basically put that compound all over that edge. And then we're gonna go in with our thumb, and we're gonna put some pressure on that, and we're just gonna rub that in back and forth. And that's basically, right now, it's gonna do the same thing as the machine did, and polish this edge to a shine. For this here, put as much pressure as you want. The more pressure you have, the quicker it's gonna kind of do its trick here. And then we use the other side of the cloth, wipe it up, make sure you got everything, and it is absolutely perfect. It was not difficult whatsoever. I should still have some compound on here somewhere. If I can find it. I'm not sure. So basically, I'm going to do the rest wherever we missed, and then we'll go to the machining process. So I will skip to that so I don't bore you guys to death if you're not already bored to death. Okay, so now we have our edges done. It's buffed. We are going to go on to the machine finish, and for that, machine polish. This is what we're going to use right here. This is the 3-part kit I mentioned I have the 1, 2, 3. But I find that one cuts better and finishes better than this brand here. I'm out of breath. Ultrafine machine polish. That's what we're gonna use. And we're gonna use it on a sponge like this. Again, I'm gonna grab my air gun and whack this, make sure that for some reason I didn't get a particle in here miraculously from something. This is a garage after all. Quite possible that a piece of sawdust or something ended up on it, and would really suck after all this work to run that on there and destroy our paint. So, lay that down so we don't get it dirty. We're gonna put our foam pad on there. And now we're gonna put our little socky over there, our little foam pad. Again, I took the tape off because this stuff is like super, super, super fine, and there's probably no risk at all of burning the paint with this, unless you're an absolute idiot. Even though I am kind of an idiot. Hard to do. So, I'm gonna make sure we don't get any crunches on there. I like to make a dollar bill sign on mine. No, I'm just kidding. Kind of looks like a dollar bill though. Kind of look like a dollar bill sign. So, tie that on there. That's what it's looking. And get it down. I'm going to make sure there's plenty of this stuff. You do not want to run it dry. Especially with the sponge. The sponge sort of, when it gets dry, it'll start kind of flaking off. We don't want that. We want the shit to be wet. I'm going to roll off the edge. I actually have the hood cracked open a bit. I never mentioned that. That way there, The lip here is a bit higher than the rest. I did that purposely. I see it getting a little bit thin. That's another lot. And that's it. That one there, there's no point checking it because you can't see how much it does or doesn't do. But I got good coverage everywhere. Didn't take very long, a couple minutes. And I'm gonna go get a brand new cloth again, because again, we're not gonna use a cloth that we use with a different grit. Sorry about the noise. Brent spanking new, Brent spanking new. All right, let's wipe this off. See how we did here. I don't like that sound. Sounds like it's going kee, scratchy. There you go. Oh yeah, very, very nice. So there you go, guys. Would I recommend anybody doing this? Pretty much. I mean, I don't think this is a hard project whatsoever. And if you take your time, keyword take your time, it's pretty safe. It's not as scary as it seems. It sounds crazy to take a sanding machine to your car, but with those grits, it's not bad. Just want to make sure everything's clean. You don't want to put a rock in there and then go put that on your paint, because that, my friend, you will regret. Is it a lot of work? Oh yeah, like you could spend, I bet you 12 hours to buff a car properly, at least. Usually takes me a couple hours per panel. Try to get every smudge off this here so I can give you guys a bit of a comparison. Okay. All right, let's see if we can find some scratches. This is my fender, which I did not do. It's really hard to pick this up on camera. I mean, there's a big giant scratch. Might have to take my word for it. If I could get the focus. There is tons of scratches on this. Like, it looks like somebody took a brush to it. I'm gonna try to slow with it. You guys can see all those scratches. Right there, quite a bit, eh? When we get here, there's nothing. All I have here is fine pitting. And that's probably from little stones hitting it over the years. Well guys, I'm going to stop this video. Hope that was informative. I hope that you guys enjoyed that. It's kind of boring, but if you're planning on wet sanding and buffing your car, this is probably a good video to watch. So on that note, peace!